Okay.
Excellent. Now, yes, I finally made it.
And promise, I mean, we're on Dominican time. So, like being a little late, at least it's not 2 hours late. We're good.
No, it's not. And it was technical problem. We're trying to.
We were trying so hard.
Yeah,
It always happens to me. So I'm happy that you're a busy guy. And I just am so happy that you took the time, to get on here with me. So I appreciate you, even though it's technical difficulties that we had, but it's always a pleasure to see you.
Well, it is my pleasure, and thank you for having me. And besides from the technical problem, it's a good learning experience for us. It's my first time doing that link thing through Instagram Live. So my technical was helping us, but finally we made it.
Oh, no, for next time, because I'm sure we'll have other ones that will be like more on the same link on that.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
For the next one, we'll be pro already.
Or be pro. Yeah, exactly. This is not too bad. That's too bad. So how is everything? You are in DR right now, right? You're not in Atlanta.
I am. I'm actually in DR. I'm in Punta Cana, exactly. Beautiful sunny day today. Beautiful, beautiful day.
I love it. I am not I'm in Michigan. It is, we're feeling spring right now. So it's, a little cold, but it is what it is. I'll be there shortly. I'm hoping anyway, but.
Nice. We hope to see you soon here.
Oh, I know. So for those that don't know, you obviously, you're my go-to lawyer when I'm in DR. Any questions I personally have. That's why we have spoken on my own, my own closings and things like that for real estate, and so that's why I wanted to get you on here and talk about the experience and talk about yourself a little bit. So why don't we kind of dive in and introduce you to viewers and then go from there?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, attorney Johan Confidente, as you correctly mentioned, here in Punta Cana. I specialize in real estate. We've been in the area for at least 20 years in the real estate practice for the last 50 years. So we have seen a lot. We have seen the area grow. We have seen all the developments coming to the Dominican Republic, and we're very, very excited. For the first time last year, we reached 10 million of tourists, and there is a lot more to come. Now the goal has been set for 15 million of tourists within the next 5 years or so. So Dominican Republic is in a great momentum, especially Punta Cana is in a great momentum. A lot of things is happening here, a lot of great development. And we're here to assist our buyers, our investors that are looking to expand, to explore business opportunities here in the Dominican Republic. The service that we offer is from start to finish, and we cover all the needs that they might have when it comes to property acquisition, to make sure the property is free and clear, to make sure that we vet the whole process from start to finish, along with helping our clients obtaining their residency if they were interested to do so, or having a corporation if they would like to operate business in the Dominican Republic, or just to have their property owned through a corporation.
You touched on all of the things. I mean, you are a one-stop shop when it comes to anything legality and purchasing in the DR for sure. And you speak English so well, but you are from the DR, correct?
I am from here, yes. Born and raised in the Dominican Republic, only 40 minutes from Punta Cana.
Oh my gosh, okay. And then, so born and raised there, lawyer, what are your ties to Atlanta? Because I know that it seems like you're always in Atlanta as well.
Well, I went to Atlanta because I have so many clients from Atlanta, and we have so many people from there that are looking to invest in the Dominican Republic, and I have so many friends out there. So I went to visit, but I think I go more to Florida and other places than Atlanta. But I do love Atlanta. It was a great, amazing experience.
Awesome. So in terms of we're going to dive into kind of like a sampler of real estate legality questions. So,
yep.
Obviously when we think of the DR, one of the main questions people ask me, because we market so much about this, is Confotur, right? And you can't talk real estate in DR and not mention Confotur, but I feel like a lot of people are confused or don't know about it. And so why don't we open up with that?
Yeah. Definitely, yes. Confotur is a big, big bonus. That's the way I like to present it. Is a big reason to come and invest in the Dominican Republic. Now, I always like to tell my investors, Confotur is a great thing, it's a bonus, but it's not the only reason to come and invest in the Dominican Republic, and it's not the only incentive. We do have so many other investors in leverage for based on the age of the buyer, based on whether they became a resident of the Dominican Republic, in the price of the property, if the price of the property is below X amount of money. So there is so many other incentives in place. Let's talk. What is exactly Confotur about? What does a Confotur do if you are looking to buy 1, 2, 3, or 4 properties? The number one thing to know is that not all the properties are eligible for Confotur. So one great question you can ask your agent when you're looking to buy a property, and if Confotur was a big thing to you, you have to ask them if that property is eligible for Confotur. But mostly, Confotur is first that are ongoing developments that are ongoing now, because the benefit of Confotur will only be in place for the first buyer who bought the property from the developer. It means that once I bought it, I benefit from Confotur, but the minute I transfer it to somebody else, the Confotur is gone. It's not longer available for nobody. Whether you kept the property 1 year, 1 month, 1 day, or you kept it through the whole duration of the tax exoneration. Now, what are the benefits in place for a buyer? Well, the number one thing is it doesn't matter the number of units you buy. If they're all eligible for Confotur, you will be able to benefit from the tax exoneration on every single property. And what are those benefits? Number one is that you don't pay property transfer taxes if the property has the benefit of Confotur. The second benefit is that the property taxes will be exonerated for the first 15 years, starting from the minute that the Confotur was approved.
Okay. So Confotur, just to be clear, is, and how does that work? Because just to dive into people who don't really understand what Confotur is. Like you said, not everybody qualifies for Confotur, right? Obviously, it's got to be in touristy areas. The developer has to apply for it as well. Just because they're in a tourist area doesn't necessarily mean that they have it automatic, correct?
Correct.
And
Property Confotur, so you always have to get that reinsurance from the agent of the property that you're looking to buy, or that they're showing you comes with Confotur. Then again, you have to double check that with your attorney, because sometimes it might be a project that is qualified, that is eligible, but they are still in the process, and you need to confirm that when performing due diligence with the acting lawyer, which is going to be me for sure.
Absolutely. That's my referral ratio. So okay. So in terms of Confotur, there's not like you mentioned like age bracket, things like that, as well as an incentive, right? So that is something where I've heard a couple different price ranges for that as well. So, and what you're getting at is it's over the age of 65, correct?
Yeah, Confotur is this one thing, and then now if we go, Confotur regardless of the age, regardless of the number of properties that you had, if the property is eligible and has been approved for Confotur, whoever bought the property will receive the Confotur. Right. Whoever bought the property will benefit from it. The two main benefit being the number one, the tax exoneration, the transfer tax exoneration, and second, the property taxes for the first 15 years. That will be in place regardless on the age of the buyer. Now, another separate benefit is for the primary place, the sole and primary residency in the Dominican Republic. Let's say we have a buyer who decided to buy a second home in the Dominican Republic, or he just bought a property. He wants to utilize a property for vacation rental and also to as a second home, like a combination of the two. Mm-hmm. Now, if that person reached the age of 65, we have to go through a process, but then he will be able to benefit from property tax exoneration. But
Okay, so
that is only in place if you only had one property. If you have more than one, it's not eligible.
Okay. Okay, so just to be clear, we were talking about Confotur, which is completely separate from this. Now we're moving on to a different type of tax exemption. Right. Just to be clear on this, two different things, okay? So tax exemptions are for retirees over the age of 65, but they have to be a resident, correct?
Well, originally, yes. Okay. They had to be residency, but now the system is like a little bit more flexible, and it's not a requirement to be resident, but it's a requirement to be your primary residency in the Dominican Republic. Like, let's say you don't have you won't be able to, let's say you bought a property, going to be in place only for the one you prove that is your residency, your primary residence.
Okay. So like you mentioned, it can't be something that you are only staying in for 3 months or 4 months out of the year. It's truly your primary residence.
That's correct. That's the whole idea. It's very difficult to control that. It's very difficult, which is, let's say, a great area that benefits the buyer as well. So if you're not necessarily living in the Dominican Republic, but you reach the age of 65 and this is your sole property, you will definitely be able to apply for it.
Okay. So incentives there in terms of purchasing. I mean, again, that's why there's so many people are retiring there right now, right? It's so much. I mean, you're not paying property taxes over the age of 65. Now, what is the price cap on that though? Because is there not like a?
Well, there is. I have been able to work on so many ranges, and the law does not stipulate any specific cap on that. Does not specify any specific cap on that. And I've been able to work on so many different price ranges. As I said, this year was a lot more flexible. I just needed a couple of documents to prove that the buyer actually resides in the Dominican Republic, that we had some utility bills to provide and prove that this is where they live or this is where their primary residency, the Dominican Republic, is established. So we do have to comply with some requirements, but there is not a cap on that one.
So you're telling me I could be living in Punta Cana Village or Casa de Campo. We're talking like $1 million homes. I'm over the age of 65, and I'm not paying property taxes on that if it's been a primary home?
Well, unless the application of the law changes, that I confirm that.
Guys, are we listening to this? This is crazy. This is crazy. And I think moving on to one of the other things that I know in terms of benefit, this is where I was thinking with this, is that under a certain amount of your property, like value, meaning when you bought that home, you don't pay property taxes below that, right? There is a third, and that doesn't matter what your age is or Confotur. Is that correct?
Well, let me, and before I answer the question, I would like to bring an example to your attention. I have a client who just turned 65, and she has a property in Cap Cana, by the way, and the property is worth around probably $600,000, and we were able to get her to waive all the property taxes since she turned 65. So there is not necessarily a cap unless the application of the law changes for the time being, which I do not anticipate is going to, right? Now,
that's amazing.
Yeah. Now, the other benefit that you're referring to is based on the amount, and it's based on the amount, not of the age. Anybody who's got the first property any buyer owns in the Dominican Republic. So let's say if you had one property, 2 or 3 properties, doesn't matter. All properties will be put together, meaning to come to a grand total amount, whether it's 1 property or 3 properties, and the first $168,000 approximately will be property tax free. That amount might fluctuate according to the exchange rate, since the tax exoneration is established in pesos. So according to the exchange rate, that amount will vary. Will fluctuate. Therefore, you will be safe if you do the around 165, 168. That will be the tax exoneration, regardless of is, regardless on the number of property, it will always be the first 165 to 168.
Okay, so for instance, if I have, 3 different properties that they're totaling 150, or excuse me, totaling together 165, I'm not then paying any property taxes on that. But then anything above that is by paying the property tax.
And you only paid on the amount of all. You don't pay. You only pay on the amount. So regardless one property or multiple, the first $168,000 approximately will be property tax free.
Wow. That is a good, I mean, why wouldn't you invest?
It's trying to tell people it's not only Confotur. We have so many other incentives in place. We do Confotur, which is a great thing, but we do have other incentives in place that our clients can leverage.
Yeah. Well, I think those 3 alone are just amazing reasons why to invest, along with the sunshine and beautiful people that are there. I think it's fantastic. You have a YouTube channel, and I've been stalking your YouTube channel. You have some great content over there. So those that are watching, make sure that you check out not only his Instagram, but his other platforms like YouTube, because you do a lot of like knowledgeable, videos on it. But you did one, because I get this question a lot, is what's better, like buying something as a resale or buying something like, like pre-construction or resale? And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it all depends on the intention. That all depends on the buyer, because I think buying pre-construction is great. It is perfect because you can buy a property. They can pay within 2-3 years according to delivery date, and there will be no interest. But let's say you have the money ready to go. I personally will always prefer to go with something ready, because I'm that person who like to see things done. I like to see, and if I have the money, then I'll put it and buy the property and start to work with that money, putting my property for rent. But I think that both are very, very good options, meaning something that is done, you can start making money immediately with the rent, if that was the intention, or you can start living on the property immediately if that was the purpose of the purchase. But buying pre-construction is a huge advantage, since you don't have to come up with all the money at once.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I say to people. It really depends on what your situation is, whether you have those funds that you can pay right now, or if you need that time to be able to pay those funds ahead of time, which is a benefit in terms of the pre-construction, right? Is that you have those kind of payment plans that can be really, really lax. And I do remember you also doing a video on people of the benefit of like, hey, do I do this payment plan, or do I pay more down so that I can get like a discount? Right. And so I have seen that one. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a great question. I definitely am. I like to keep as much money as possible towards the end, because I'd rather keep the money with me over a discount. But that's the way I see it. Every person is different, but I definitely prefer the payment plan to be. And we do have so many different structures or payment plans down here. For example, one thing that is non-negotiable is the 20% down payment. Typically, it's a general practice, a common practice here in the Dominican Republic, that 20% down payment is yes or yes. Then after that, you can probably pay 80% during construction, or 60% during construction, 20% in the end. Or some other payment plan will be subject to 50-50, 40, 60-40, 70-30, this type of things. But I personally prefer clients to hold as much money as they can. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm more of that same side where it's like, I like to hold my money as long as possible. It makes me feel really, really nice and cozy.
Yeah. We're on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. We are getting some questions on here, though. So one person, Old Town Charm, I love this name. Old Town Charm asks, as an American, are we taxed in the U.S. for this property? That is a great question.
Absolutely, yes. Well, the good thing for American citizens is that there is no dual taxation between the Dominican Republic and the U.S. It means that you might have to declare in the U.S., but once you pay your taxes here, you don't have to pay taxes back in the U.S. I always recommend to double check that information with a tax advisor in the U.S., but there is no dual taxation between the Dominican Republic and the U.S.
And then there's another question here in terms of the property taxes, because again, it's a hot topic. What is the property tax?
Well,
so, what? Go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, property tax in the Dominican Republic is 1%. That is the standard. No, the standard is 1% on every property. Like, let's say the registered value of a property. We have to consider registered value, because the minute you pay your taxes on the property, it becomes the registered value. Last, it was registered at a higher amount. So we go by registered value, and it's 1%.
And then, in terms of a foreigner purchasing there, is there any restrictions, right? I think a lot of people have that concept that they have to be a resident, because in other countries, a lot of times you have to be a resident of that country in order to purchase something. So what do you say to that?
Well, that's one of my favorite questions to answer. In the Dominican Republic, you have all your civil rights are active. You have all your civil rights active. You can buy, you can operate business, you can get married, you can divorce in the Dominican Republic, all your civil rights, and there's no need to become a resident, right? So you can own many properties as you can. You don't have to become resident in order to have a not only a right to ownership, but a constitutional right to ownership. So your rights are equally protected as mine, being a Dominican citizen. There is no difference. So according to the law, a foreign investor and a Dominican is exactly the same level of protection without no need to become resident.
Wonderful. Now, we talked about Confotur, and you touched also on business, and obviously people are asking in the U.S. and how that transfers over to the DR, certain things. So let's say I have an LLC here in the U.S. and I want to go down to the DR and purchase something under my LLC. Is that something I can do? Does my LLC here in the U.S. recognized in the DR?
Well, it's not that it's recognized, but then after performing a process, it becomes recognized. And how do we do that? The answer is yes, it is doable. You can just buy property in the Dominican Republic under your LLC, your U.S. LLC. But before that, we have to go through the process to register this company here in the DR, which we call incorporation. It's a simple process. It takes a little bit of time. It takes not too long, but it takes couple of weeks, 3 to 4 weeks approximately, but it's perfectly doable. One thing interesting to know is that once you register the LLC in the Dominican Republic, it will be treated in the Dominican Republic as any other Dominican entity, meaning that your U.S. LLC will be subject to all the tax formalities of the Dominican Republic.
Looks like we got another question. I love Old Town Charm. Love that name. Old Town Charm. Are the Airbnb laws changing in Punta Cana?
No, right now. We don't have any regulations in place right now. So we don't have regulations in terms of restrictions, how many nights you can rent, how many properties you can own. We don't have those right now. It's a great moment to buy because maybe in the long future we might have them, but at this moment, as we speak, we don't have any. And laws are now retroactive in the Dominican Republic. So this is the moment to buy.
Wonderful. I think Dominican Republic is definitely the place to invest for sure. And then also a question on here is what is the process and the cost to register an LLC? That's a percentage, right?
Well, when it comes to pricing, I can give you, every case is different. We have to go through the type of corporations they would like to register. Whether it's an incorporation, we need to know what documents are available. We need to consider legalization, translation. But when it comes to a company that you will register, the company that you will constitute here in the DR, we're talking about roughly $1,500 US. when you bring in a company, your LLC that you would like to register in the DR is approximately $2,800 to $3,000 approximately.
Okay. And, a question I often get myself, because I've been in DR and I will stay for, like last summer, I stayed for almost 2 months, and that's the longest span I've stayed. But, there's a lot of people that go there and stay for, 6 months to a year, if not longer sometimes. And being a foreigner, I always get that question when I'm coming back from friends. It's like, well, how can you stay there that long? Like, at what point are they going to deport you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are they going to kick you out? And so I think since you're the legal guru, if you could answer that for Ethel.
Absolutely, yes. Well, the right answer is that you're allowed to come every time you enter the Dominican Republic. You're allowed to legally stay for 3 months. However, Dominican Republic is not that active in deportation or putting red flags on people who overstay. No, we live on tourists. This is our whole country is based on service and receiving tourists on policy. This is what how the Dominican Republic has been built. However, the visa is meant to be respected. I highly recommend to respect it or go over an extension process. The extension process is not that effective because it takes time. And if you overstay, the only consequence right now is that they ask you to pay like a little fine, but no more than that. They don't penalize you anyhow. But I recommend that if possible, to respect the term of the visa, if possible.
Yeah. I want to say, like you said, I mean, I think after 10 years of being there, let's say you never went out of the country and you were going to go, I think I calculated it and it was like less than $2,000 that you would have to pay as a fine. You know what I mean? Like it's very fluable.
It's very minimal. Yeah, but if there are so many flexibilities as well to apply for residency, there's so many ways of doing it. I personally think that before applying for residency, you have to start by asking you that question: do I really see myself staying in the Dominican Republic for over 3 months? Do I really need to apply for residency? Because it is an extra cost. It is an extra process that you have to incur. And if you don't really need it, there is no need to apply for it. You know that every time you enter the Dominican Republic, you're allowed to legally stay for 3 months, even if you are gone for 1 day.
Correct. And so what are your thoughts on the benefit then to become a resident?
There are some benefits in place. Number one benefit is the fact that there's no restriction. You can stay in the Dominican Republic with no limit of time. Second, that depending on the category that you apply, you'll be able to bring your car free of duties. You'll be able to bring a container with your personal belongings, and all this will be free of tax. And through that, depending on the category, you will be able to also access to property transfer tax benefit as well. So there are so many benefits in place when you apply. If you really need it to apply for the Dominican residency, it is wise to do and work on a good plan of action to be able to benefit from the container, from the car, from the property taxes. Imagine that you bought a property and the property didn't have Confotur. Well, through the residency, you can have it. But if you bought a property didn't have Confotur, well, if you're over 65, all that you will be eligible for property tax in nation. So there's so many incentives in place. It's just a matter of playing your cards correctly.
And you touched on another benefit that the DR has when you're moving there. And I don't know a ton about this, but there is something, like you said, the container. So there is like, I'm going to move there. I'm decided I'm going to move, Punta Cana. There is something to, like we said, about getting your container belongings and getting them shipped over. And from what I hear, it's discounted or it's free, or there's something to that, correct?
Well, it's only the duties. It's only the taxes. It's not like the service, container, right, all that, and custom fees. You still have to cover those. It's only the taxes that will be waived. And as this benefit It's not applicable to all categories. It's only to some specific categories that this benefit is in place.
Okay. All right. So there is more to that. Like I said, I haven't really dove into that, but I have heard that there is that benefit of you can ship things over, and at least there is an incentive there. That it can be very costly for sure, especially if you have to pay the taxes on top of it. So that's what you're selling.
Well, in lots, you're moving down to the Dominican Republic, and the government tells you, "Hey, welcome to the DR. You won't pay taxes on your container. Taxes are eliminated. You can bring your car with the only condition that it cannot be more than 5 years old, and have to own it for at least 1 year. So those are the only conditions for you to bring your car free of tax in the context of applying for one of the residency category that comes with those benefits.
Okay, so I can basically bring 20 cars down and open a car lot is what you're getting at, right? Okay, got you. Okay, so we have a couple more interesting questions here. Let me see here. Are non-DR residents eligible for financing such as mortgage, which buying, purchasing a resale or pre-construction properties? So,
no question. The answer is yes, you do have mortgage loan in place for non-residency of the Dominican Republic. We do have most banks in the area will be more than happy to work with American citizens applying for mortgage loan in DR.
Yep. And just to answer that, for the viewer on that as well, is that, Bank Popular, Bank, Scotia Bank. I mean, there are several banks out there that are great. What's the other one? Bank Resale, which are like the top three that I know of off the top of my head. But generally speaking, for a non-resident, from my understanding, generally speaking, they will give you 50% of that mortgage, correct? Like that's generally what I've seen in the past. And again, not that you just deal with a lot of banks and you see a lot of these closings to speak to, but again, neither one of us are in the financial realm, so don't hold us accountable to that.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. That's 50% will be like almost guaranteed based on your credit. Will be almost guaranteed based on the credit of the applicant. In some banks will go up to even 70%. Again, depends on the credit and depends on the property they will buy.
Yeah, and I mean, in the DR, they don't do the, they don't pull your property or your financial report like they do here in the U.S. So how is it that they generally do that? Again, we're not financials. We're just trying to get a scope on this.
I have a clear picture on that as well by helping my client. One in the process, that applicant has to either authorize the bank to do a TransUnion, or they will ask you to do it to provide a TransUnion so they can check credit score and they can check all this on the applicant here.
Okay, wonderful. And then I had some other questions too, because I had asked the question before, that we were going to get on here. I had some people that had just messaged me, asking about certain things. So let me see if there's things that maybe we haven't covered.
Okay.
So like requirements for a foreigner for purchasing in the DR. Like,
well,
obviously they're going to run a report of some sort, I'm guessing. You always talk about due diligence, right? Like,
yeah, when it comes to purchase without financing, all we do is the standard due diligence, know your customer, confirming the source of the funds, confirming that person actually exists, that person is not doesn't have any legal problems. Not necessarily that went through a problem in the past or something. No. It's like it's not a I don't know, not even how to say it, not a drug dealer or something like that.
Where are the funds coming from, right? Like that's the thing. It's like, where is the money from?
The source of the funds, making sure that the source of the funds is legit. That's the most important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what is your advice, right? Like in terms of a foreigner entering this and not knowing, hey, I hear about the Dominican Republic. I hear it's a great place to go and invest, but some people have never been there before. I have some clients of mine that have never even set foot in the Dominican Republic and purchased, which is amazing to me. But like, what are, yeah, I mean, I think, I absolutely love the the country. I love the island. I love every time I go there, I experience something new or some other, hidden gems that it has to offer. So I personally love it. But what are some things that you would advise people that are looking at investing here? Like, what should they look out for? Because there's not always not everybody has the greatest story when it comes to investing, right?
Yeah.
There's been some things in the news where people, there's scammers everywhere, things like that. So what is your suggestion to somebody that's looking at investing in the DR?
My main advice will be do the process the way it should be done. Number one thing, some people think that calling the real estate company will give them access to an extra benefit. That is not true. Some people think like since I'm buying a pre-construction property, I don't need a lawyer. You do need a lawyer. You need a lawyer to make sure that the paperwork is fine, that the contract protects your interest. So make sure you go the right way. Make sure you don't leave things in the air. Make sure you do the process, you perform the process correctly by having your own team, your team of experts, starting by the real estate agent and second, the attorney. You do need this team around you to advise you that area is good, that whether you're looking for equity, the agent will be able to tell you that this is the best area for the type of investment that you're looking to do. And then the attorney, having the attorney on your side that will definitely be looking after your best interests and making sure that you're not engaging to a property that technically you might be buying a problem. No, we don't want that. We don't want that for you. Help us to help you do the process correct.
Absolutely. And to that, like, what kind of clauses do you like that stand out to you when you look at putting together an agreement, let's say on a pre-construction in the DR, that you tend to look at and say, this is something we definitely should have added on here, or, that you recommend to your client to be aware of when doing a contract?
Yeah, there is a lot after COVID. All contracts have been restructured around the supply chain. We have to look at the stipulations around that. You have to look at the stipulations around the grace period, compensations, what rights the developer might have when it comes to the developer having the ability to terminate the contract for no reason. This comes usually in very, very, very tiny letters that is hard to interpret if you're not a lawyer. And you have to make sure that you are not signing a contract that has this type of stipulations. And sometimes it's not only that I'm going to accept the contract or not. It's knowing that I can handle the contract, that I can. There is a specific clause. Maybe the developer is not willing to negotiate it, but at least you know your worst case scenario and you know that you can handle it.
Absolutely. And I mean, you touched on, I think, one of the biggest things that we, in terms of real estate, have as a challenge and developers have as a challenge is, like you said, supply and demand, right? And so oftentimes we're dealing a lot with pre-construction in the DR. And the biggest thing is, like, is it going to be done on time, right? They said they're going to be done March of 2025. Am I going to get the keys March 1st? And, I know it's always hard for people to wrap their heads around it, but, it happens. I mean, weather is affected, supply is affected, all of these things kind of affect things. And so we always kind of say, expect, anywhere from 3 months to a 6-month delay. Because that's just kind of a standard, right? And so if you have that, you're going to be happy. At the end of the day, everybody's happy when they get their keys. They're happy that they have their, new condo or whatever they have down there, and everybody's happy. However, it's about being, upfront about it, right? And so I think that's where you come in, and you're like, okay, 3 months to 6 months is definitely a time frame that we can handle. But if there's anything other than that, like we're looking more like years out, then that's really important to have things in the contract that kind of, as a buyer, is protecting you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, yes. And knowing that when you buy property, how sensitive the time might be. This is the more sensitive the time is for you, then you need to be more specific when it comes to what is the grace period. whether it's the developer that typically delivers on time or not. So we need to know this type of information to have the proper stipulations on the contract. And this is again why investors need to have a team around them. The real estate who's going to tell them, hey, that developer typically delivers on time or typically a little bit behind. So at least you know how to structure your own purchase process, and then having the attorney to look at the stipulations of the contract and make sure that they are in your best, protecting your best interests.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have another question here. They're asking about your fees, Johan. They want to know how much are you going to charge them for putting up a contract?
Well, I would like to say first, we're known in the area because we perform a very, very good due diligence. You see clients out there with problems, schemes, and all that. None of them are our client. This is because we perform a deep level of due diligence, and our service offers a full service from start to finish, including as a bonus, even assistance when it comes to opening bank account, electricity, and such. And our services, standard services, 1.5% from the purchase price, starting at $2,800 US. Let's say you buy a property that is 200 and under, you're most likely your legal fees will be like 2,800, and if you buy a bond, it will be 1.5% from the purchase price.
Hopefully, I think that answers again. So it fluctuates based on the cost of the property, and that percentage is what you're getting at. So, yeah. So I think let me see what else we have on here. So, and again, you worked with me personally on my own purchase, and that's why I trust you. I know that you, like you said, you always talk about due diligence. You always talk about that process. We've gone back and forth on contracts as well, because I'm more of that person's like, oh, okay, like I trust the developer. I trust, I trust the process being in the and I'm friends with the developers and things like that. So it's a different thing for me. But so I was more on the like, I'll just sign it. Nobody, but you really were like, whoa, Jess, let's take a, backseat to this. And like, we've got to really look at this closely, and really brought some things to light on the contract that, again, is standard for them. But I'm like, well, wait a second, I'm your friend. Like, what's happening here, right? And that's the thing. Then it's like, okay, well, we got to look at the, the delivery date. We've got to, even though we trust, we know that they're going to deliver on time, or I know the quality of it. It's still a matter of, we've got to get this in writing. And I think you are so good about like, well, you never know, what about this scenario? How would you feel about this? And it's really easy to talk to you and understand that on a legal process then, because you really work on scenarios and how realistic is this, and is this going to matter to you in 2 years or so?
Thank you.
Some other questions here. Can you name a few reputable builders in DR? Absolutely. Get a hold of us here at Blue Caribbean Properties for sure. We work with very reputable people, because again, it looks bad for us as a real estate company to not, right? Because just like yourself, John, when you're navigating to your client and letting them know like, hey, this is what you should look out for. You never want somebody to come back at you saying, well, you told me, or I trusted you, because ultimately, as a real estate agent, as a lawyer, they're coming to us because they trust us that we're helping them and guiding them to make the right choices. Again, it is ultimately your choice. There's oftentimes I've told, and I'm sure maybe you've given that consultation with somebody and said, I maybe would have not signed it, or I would make sure to put this, and somebody maybe then said, no, I'm fine, I'll sign it. Same thing goes with real estate. There's oftentimes where we'll say, it's not that that's a bad product, or it's just maybe we don't have the history on it. Maybe they haven't done something in the past, and we just don't have the history to say, yep, they're going to deliver on time, or, things to go on. And we might then say, we have the history on this one, and this is why I recommend this. But ultimately, it comes down to that client saying, you know what, I'm going to go with my gut with this, and I'm going to purchase this, So I'm guessing that's similar to you in contracts. And
that is correct.
Do you need to have license?
try to give the investors enough information and a system to make a wise decision. That's the most important here is to make a wise decision, have all the element, having all the necessary information so you can make a wise decision with the assistance of your attorney, with the assistance of your realtor.
Absolutely. And so there's a question here too. Old Town Charm is killing it with the questions. I love it. Old Town Charm is asking, do you need a license to be a real estate, work real estate in the DR? No, you don't, which I'm hoping that we're going to be a part of that change. I hope to see that changes, in the near future, because everybody does real estate, right? Everybody and their uncle.
And that's the problem, right?
That is the problem. Yeah.
All right there. Unless you go to a reputable company that takes time to form their agents to educate them, then you might be dealing with an agent that does not have a clue about real estate. And that's the problem. What does license mean? License means that they have a minimum knowledge to handle this type of transaction. When you go nobody with anybody you met on the internet, no background, then who are you working with?
Yeah.
Is that person an expert in real estate? Is that person from Punta Cana recommending you to buy a place, telling you that is 10 minutes from the water when it's actually 40 minutes, and peak hour might be even an hour. So it is important. It's crucial to pick the right company when it comes to a real estate company, and it's crucial to pick the right attorney as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I know how to sew, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stitch you up if you got a cut. I'm not a doctor, So it's like, and that's the thing where right now, that's why, like you said, you touched on all of this. It is something that's really important to go with a company that's reputable. We got at Blue Current Properties, we align ourselves with people like yourself that we trust, that we use ourselves, that we've gone through the process with, we continue going through the process with. And again, that's why, and I love you always talk about due diligence. Always do due diligence. Who are they working with? Who are they aligning themselves with? What is their reputation in the market?
Correct.
Where are they located? And so it is something where, again, in the past, there have been things that there's scammers and things like that have happened. Unfortunately, it puts a bad taste in the mouth for a lot of investors, doesn't do well for us in our field. And so that's where we are aligning, and we're looking into making it that it becomes something that you have to have a license to do this, and luckily, at least you have to have a lawyer to close, right? So at least you have a lawyer at the end to help you with it. But then again, it's having a good lawyer, not having someone that's leading you on the wrong path. So that's where I recommend Johan Confidente and his team here in, not here, in Punta Cana. I'm in Michigan right now. So to help you with all of those real estate needs. And you're also in Santo Domingo.
Well, we work in Santo Domingo through offices that we're partnering with. So we are in Santo Domingo and also Puerto Plata.
Oh, you go to Puerto Plata too? Okay, I didn't know that. All right, cool. You're all over the place. You're all.
Yeah. If we have a client in Puerto Plata, we don't want to say no. We want to represent them.
I love it. And so you really then know kind of what's happening all around in terms of real estate.
Yeah.
And different scenarios, I'm sure.
That's what makes it so interesting. The way to do business and the way to do business in Santo Domingo, the way to do business in Puerto Plata, it might be a little bit different. It might the common situations that you see in Punta Cana is not going to be the same thing you will see when you go to Cabarete, when you go to Puerto Plata, when you go to Santo Domingo. They're all different, and this is what makes it so interesting. But at the same time, that is what makes it so particular that you do have to have the right advisors with the necessary experience, not only in legal education, but also in the market, in the area. Make sure that you hire someone, whether it's a realtor, whether it's a lawyer, with experience in the area where you are buying.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely have heard and luckily, knock on wood, have not had anything come up with us. But there is definitely things like, properties that are under trust and properties that don't have title, right? I mean, you're talking about certain areas that are farmland and things that's like, oh, it belonged to so-and-so back in the day, but where'd that title go? And, to make that all kind of move smoothly, you definitely, and it's cool because, again, in different regions, I'm sure you have different challenges that you see kind of happening through all of them. So that's really cool to see. So, we can wrap this up. I love that you gave us a sampler of all the things. I'd love to have you back on and we can kind of target specific things and dive into more. I just kind of wanted us to kind of chat about a little bit of everything today.
Yep.
So I think we did a good job on it. But your last piece of advice for anybody that's looking at investing in the DR, what would you say?
Well, definitely is the right time to buy in the Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic is growing. If you don't invest now, you will pay more for the same property within a year or two. So now is the time to do it. And second, make sure you hire your own team. You go with your reputable company, Blue Caribbean, and OCC lawyers on the legal side.
You got it. I love that. Thank you so much for that. And again, always a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much. I know you're a busy guy. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
It is.
And we will definitely schedule it, guys that are watching. Definitely will schedule another live talk with Johan Confidente because he's got all the knowledge, all the legal knowledge of what is the DR. And so stay tuned for that.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.